Welcome to the Missouri Valley Conference Game of the Week preview show presented by Mercy, the official orthopedics and sports medicine provider of the Missouri Valley Conference. With head coach Ben Jacobson, I'm Harry Schroeder, and Wednesday at 6 p.m. on your local Gray Media station and Matrix Midwest here in St. Louis, the Northern Iowa Panthers will be going against the Missouri State Bears. And Jake, you guys had a big win on Sunday against Bradley. Confidence boost for the team, or were they already super confident?
No, I think it was, Harry. We feel like we needed one like that where we competed at a higher level, did it for more of the game. Like I know the two of us have discussed this. We've had some stretches with this team where we've competed really hard, and we've had more stretches where we've played hard, and that's the distinction that we've worked to make with our, with this team and with some of the guys on this team is, playing hard and competing really hard on individual plays. The competitive nature of things, they're two different things. Like you can play really hard, but man, you got to win some individual battles, and you've got to be super competitive if you're going to do well in this league. If you're going to play well against the guy you're lined up against, if our team is going to play well against another team in this league, you've got to be so competitive. And I felt like yesterday that was most noticeable to me. It was just the competitive spirit and the competitive nature of our guys it was just better for longer yesterday.
First game without Leon for a whole game, and Weisbro was in the starting lineup, and obviously he performed quite well. Talk about his performance.
Yeah, Max played. He played great. Where his game has really developed and grown is at the defensive end of the floor. He's good with the ball in his hands, and he's just kind of got a knack for scoring, and he shoots the ball well from the 3-point line, and he's a tough. At that end of the floor, he's really a tough, competitive, gutsy player. What we've been pushing him is you got to get in shape, man. If you're going to play, again, I'll go back to it, Harry. And I know we know this, like if you're going to play well in this league, you've got to be in shape, and you've got to be able to defend your position, and you've got to talk so you can make switches. And like that's the area where Max has grown the most. Now, in his, on his side of it, and he hasn't said this to me as we've been working on him getting better defensively. They switched everything the last 2 years, right? Where he was at the Division II school. So that's how he played the last 2 years, and they were really good. His coach is terrific, and they had really good teams, but they switched everything. So it's a different way of playing defensively. So he's had, you're learning from a technique standpoint. But then also again that he's not afraid of competing, but he had to make some. He had to get better at the defensive end, and he has.
19 assists on Sunday, and you guys shot it, I think, nearly 50% from deep. So obviously assists come a little bit easier when guys are throwing it in. But did you like that, the offensive side, meaning the ball movement, those kinds of things?
Yeah, and we were coming off of a tough game from an offensive standpoint, and Drake's been very good defensively this year, and they've made it hard for people, and we weren't able to get a lot of traction. So we were coming out of one, and so as a head coach, a little bit curious as to how are the guys going to respond. Are we going to have some guys try to do some things on their own, or are we going to do what this team has done a lot this year, and that's move the ball. Really move it, really pass it, really work to get the best shot we can get each time we go down there. And that was certainly the case. I thought our ball movement was good. And, what we did defensively in the first half was as good as we've done. But I felt like the early part of the second half, defensively being able to come out of halftime and get a couple more stops. Trey got the steal early on the first possession, and we followed it up with a couple more stops. That turned into a little bit of offense. And then I felt like the defensive things that we had going for the first 25 minutes of the game here, I felt like that kind of shifted into the offense. And then we had some momentum at both ends of the floor. But so much of it to do, because Bradley's so hard to play against. The quality of the players, and obviously we know what Brian and his staff have done in the league, and they run good stuff. And if they get going just a little bit, man, boy, they blow the doors off of people. So I think at some point our guys felt like, man, we're playing pretty good defensively, and let's see if we can get some of that going with our offense.
And Trey was terrific against Duke Dean. It's we've turned into February, and I've been asking the coaches about senior urgency. We hear that phrase. It's near the end of the year, near the end of their career. When does senior urgency come click in, or is there a magic moment for those guys that are seeing the end of their career coming?
Yeah, I think it's pretty specific to individual guys. Maybe at least that's my experience in going through this with a lot of players. It's some guys it really hits them, and and it's kind of a 2 3 month thing where they know, hey, this is it, and I gotta do this, I gotta, and it impacts the way they play. And some guys it hits them when you get to February and you're like, oh man, we've turned it. We're in the second half, and now I only got this many games left. And
Mm.
and some guys, we've got a little bit of each going. Like Titan, he's pretty urgent all the time. Right, and he knows he's coming down the stretch, but you just watch him play yesterday, right? He's played that way a lot. He's just got a unique way about him. We've talked about a lot of the basketball things and his energy and his enthusiasm, and but he's also has this part of it where he's just going to play as hard as he can play, and he's going to do everything he can to help our team play well and help our team win. And so we've got a guy in Titan who is I think going to continue to approach it that way, even though he's coming down the stretch where Huddy's got he's a little more of looks at things like, okay, this is it, this is what I got left, and so he thinks about it a little bit more. And he and I were talking about it the other day, and so with him, talking to him about, hey, February's going to end whether we like it, think about it, don't like it. Like it's going to end in about 21
Mm.
days. So let's enjoy it. Hey, and you're prepared. You're playing great. Let's enjoy it. Hey, focus on your teammates. Focus on what you're doing well. Focus on helping our team. And so a little bit more of that with Big Hut, because he's and Ty is too, right? Just really caring kid. And he wants us to do so well. And sometimes that can get in the way.
Mm.
And then Kale, I think just because he got back, right? He hasn't played all year, so the focus is really on, man, hopefully that knee continues to get a little healthier, and I just love being out here. And so his is a little different, right? And now
Sure.
his may hit him in the last week, right? But right now his focus is, man, I hope this knee gets a little better, and I hope I can be out there on game night. I just want to help our team. So we got a little bit of, we got three kind of different scenarios in our team, and I think that's fairly typical. I'll go back to where I started, Harry. I think it is pretty individual with different guys.
Will Hornseth is giving you some really good minutes. Describe his game for folks that maybe haven't seen him much. You guys are going to be on Matrix Midwest this Wednesday. Talk about him.
Yeah, he does a little bit of everything, and that's for a first year guy, and and even more so for a first year guy that's got size, right? Sometimes when you're 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", and you're still 18, 19 years old, there's just so your body isn't there yet. So, if you're good at two or three things and able to help the team, that's pretty good. Well, man, he's pretty good at a lot of things. Like defensively, he talks a lot. And for a
Mm.
freshman, that's unique. He can really move his feet. We're comfortable switching 5 ways when he's in there and putting him on a smaller guy because he can move his feet physically inside when he's on the bigger guys. And we're gonna see it on Wednesday night with Missouri State. Man, their big guy at that center position is really hard to play against because he's so physical and so mobile. Will physically is going to battle. He is and doesn't shy away from the contact, and then offensively he's got same thing. He's got great feet. He's got great hands. He's got really good instincts. So he puts the ball in the basket in some different ways, and I've talked about it with Ty. I've talked about it with Huddy. Like Will's doing all of those things as a first year guy, which in and of itself is unique, and it's really awesome to see in a young guy. And but he's the same way. Like he is wired to help our team play well. He is a tremendous teammate. Yeah, so he doesn't really get outside of that. He wants to do so well for his teammates and for our team. So yeah, I know that's a lot of stuff, Harry, but he's pretty unique for a first year guy because he can impact the game in so many different ways. And usually that takes some experience, right? You got to play some games and maybe get into year two. And at least, I've seen that, with our team and with guys around the league. But man, we're lucky to have him. He's a terrific kid. even beyond what he does with basketball. Like, he's a way better kid than a basketball player. But I think, when people see him play for the first time, he catches their eye, doesn't he? Like, I think
Yeah.
saw him the first time, Harry. I think you thought, okay, they got a good one right there.
Yeah.
Like, because he does, right? You see him do stuff, and he's a way better kid than he is a hooper. So, yeah, we're lucky to have him.
Wednesday, the Missouri State Bears. I know a Sunday game for you, and then a quick turnaround for Wednesday. Talk about what you do know about the Bears and your former collections or collisions with Conzo Martin.
Yeah, our game here was a really good, hard fought, competitive game. We were able to get them by 8 or 9, but they closed it in the second half. I thought we had played pretty well and gotten to a spot where we could maybe extend it, and they fought right back, and they made plays and they made shots, and they kept throwing it inside and working through the post, and then they had some perimeter players, and they got some really good ones. But those guys got loose and made some shots, and then had some some of the guys off the bench making plays. So just when I thought we might get it to 12, get it to 14, they cut it to 5, and they cut it under that, and they had a chance to tie it or take the lead, I think, at around the 6, 7, 8 minute mark. So and looking at the games coming into our first one, they had played that way, right? They had played teams close, and the reason one of the reasons, right, is because of how hard they play, right? And that's where, to your question about coach, like, his teams are going to play hard. The score isn't going to dictate how hard they play, right? And it isn't going to dictate how well they do things, right? They're going to keep doing the things they've practiced and the things they've had success with. So yeah, and then they went, with Murray, they put on a terrific performance. They went in, and that they just put together a terrific 40 minutes, and they had shown that in spurts and in stretches and in some long stretches, right? But man, they put one together against Murray, and so they've already shown they're good enough to to win games in this league. Obviously, he's coached at a high level, and coaches had a ton of success, and but they're a hard team to play against.
They're going to be a tough one on Wednesday. Before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about last week was the Coaches versus Cancer week, and your guys' outfits were very pink, by the way, on Sunday. But talk about how and why that is such an important thing for basketball teams and men's basketball teams to be doing.
Yeah, we've got a couple things I would tell you. One, the hope always, it says on the front of our shirts, and losing is not an option on the back, and Team Joyce. So Joyce Joyce and her husband Keith are very close friends and supporters of the program, and that grew into a tremendous friendship. And Joyce battled cancer for a number of years, and we just got very, very close. And I really appreciate our fans and our community continuing to. Joyce passed away, I believe, in 2016. So continuing to honor her and do wear the shirts and be part of it on during Coaches versus Cancer Week, and we've had some others that are very close to our program, and I think for all of us, whether it's you or the other coaches in the league, right? I mean, cancer touches all of us, and so we've had some other folks, some very close friends that have been a part of our program that it's hit pretty hard. So we want to continue to do that, and I like the pink shirts because they do stand out. Okay? So what you're hoping to do is to raise awareness, right? The number one, and number two, we had some essential items. Our fans brought some essential items that we can take down to the Hope Lodge in Iowa City. We auctioned off the shoes that the guys wore, and any proceeds are going to go to the Hope Lodge in Iowa City. But the pink shirts, again, I like it because they stand out. And it's the most important thing is to be able to raise some awareness and just get it on people's radar. That if you do have something going on, you need to go and get checked. And everybody's a little bit stubborn, I think, when it comes to their health, especially men. When it comes to their health, and feel like it'll go away, or it isn't that big a deal. Well, if it's something that's drastically different, go and get it checked. And that's the awareness part, Harry, that we want to continue to push and have people see. And because if you get to it early, it's so different now than it was 10 years ago, than it was 20 years ago. The treatments and the cures and the options are so different today. So the awareness part is so important, and that's again where I appreciate our fans being a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're really pink. I mean, they really stand out. I thought that was amazing. Appreciate your time today, Jake. Best of luck this week.
Okay, thanks.
Our Wednesday night coverage begins at 6 p.m. Central. For information on where you can catch the games, please visit mvc-sports.com. For the Missouri Valley Conference, I'm Harry Schroeder.